Hello everyone, I wish you peace and happiness. Are you all healthy? Today, I will continue to tell you about the difficult, impoverished and struggling days of Huyen and her mother. In the morning, in front of Huyen and Appo's small bamboo house porch, they suddenly appeared with a motorbike carrying a large tarp and a roll of iron nails. After the heavy storm the day before, the roof still had a gap that hadn't and Appo's been repaired, and whenever it rained, water could leak inside. They parked his bike at the gate, took down the tarp and the roll of nails. He looked up at the roof and said to Huyen, "I brought some things to fix the roof for you. If this place is left like this for too long, and it rains again, you and your mother will suffer." Huyen stood on the porch watching Da, feeling both surprised and moved. Da held the tarp in his hand and began working, determined to cover the gap on the roof so that the small house of the two of them would no longer leak during rain. In the morning, the small bamboo house was still immersed in silence. Huyen and Micah were still peacefully sleeping on the bamboo bed, their breath steady after a night of rest. Da had just arrived in front of the house. In his hand, he carried a black bag containing bread and noodles, bringing them over for the mother and daughter to have breakfast. He gently stepped into the house, trying not to wake Huyen and Micah. They went straight to the kitchen, placed the bag of bread on the bamboo table, then turned to the stove. The flame quickly ignited. They placed Huyen and Appo's herbal teapot on the stove, added a little water, and started to cook again. The smoke from the stove gently rose under the roof, with the scent of herbs mingling with the morning air. They sat by the fire, occasionally glancing toward the bamboo bed. They gently stepped inside the bamboo bed. Seeing Huyen and Micah still sleeping soundly, he carefully pulled the thin blanket over the two of them, adjusting it so that it covered them evenly. They stood still, gazing at mother and daughter for a moment, then turned to the kitchen. The herbal medicine pot was boiling at this time. He carefully took it off, poured the medicine into a small bowl, and placed it on the bamboo table. They covered the bowl with a plate to keep the medicine clean and free of dust. Then he took a piece of paper, wrote a few lines, and placed the note right under the bowl. And quote, "Huyen, when you wake up, remember to take your medicine. I brought bread and noodles for breakfast for you and Micah. I have some errands, I will come back in the afternoon." End quote. They looked at the table once more, then gently left the house. Reaching the porch, he suddenly stopped, turned his head to look inside. Through the door frame, Huyen and Micah were still sleeping soundly on the bamboo bed. They watched for a little longer, smiled softly, then turned away, leaving the small house in the peacefulness of the morning. They rides his motorbike along a long stretch to a grass field, where the villagers grow grass to make mats. He parks his bike by the roadside and then goes to meet the landowner, politely asking for work. After listening to Da and Appo's explanation, the landowner agrees. Da is delighted. Without hesitation, he immediately begins working. He bends down to shake each bundle of grass to loosen it, then spreads the bundles out on the ground to dry in the sun. After finishing this task, Da quickly moves on to another stage. He sits beside the machine, using his hands to pull each bundle of grass through it. On the other side, someone else continuously pushes the grass and so Da can keep pulling it through. The work requires continuous effort and coordinated rhythm. Even though sweat has soaked his back, Da works diligently. He only hopes to earn a little extra money to support Huyen and Micah, as well as to repair the damaged thatched roof after the storm. Huyen and Micah gradually woke up on the bamboo bed. The morning sunlight had seeped through the bamboo slats, shining into the small house. Huyen slowly sat up and then stepped outside the house. Suddenly, a cough came over her, making her feel a bit dizzy. Huyen quickly supported herself on the bamboo railing by the porch, stood still to rest for a moment, and then regained her composure. "Mom, are you okay?" Micah worriedly ran to her side. Huyen gently shook her head, smiled to reassure her daughter, and then slowly went into the kitchen. On the bamboo table, Huyen saw a bowl of medicine still warm. Next to it was a small piece of paper that Da had left before leaving. Huyen picked up the paper and read it, her eyes softening when she realized Da had woken up early, brought food for the two of them, and prepared medicine for her. She gently placed the paper down, looked at the bowl of medicine on the table, and then softly smiled. A warm feeling rose in Huyen's heart from Da's quiet care. Mother and daughter finish brushing their teeth and washing their faces, then sit together on the bamboo chair in front of the house. Huyen takes a small comb and gently combs Micah and Appo's slightly messy hair. She carefully combs each strand, then gathers and ties it neatly at the back of her daughter's head. Micah sits quietly, occasionally looking up at her mother and smiling. After finishing her hair, Huyen softly gazes at Micah and gently strokes her hair. "There, my beautiful Micah." Micah happily hugs her mother. The mother and daughter sit on the small bamboo porch, beginning a simple and warm morning. Da bows his head, holding a sickle to cut close to each grass root. Each time he finishes cutting, he gathers the grass into handfuls, gently shakes them to even out the stems, and arranges them into neat piles. When he has collected a large amount, Da stacks the bundles into tall columns taller than himself. He takes a few tough grass strands, twists them into long ropes, then wraps them around the bundles, tying them tightly to prevent the bundles from falling apart. Sweat runs down his forehead, and his shirt is soaked after hours working in the field. Da continues diligently making each bundle, from one to the next, striving to complete his work. Huyen took the bag of bread that Da had just brought and placed it on the bamboo table. She took a piece of bread and gave it to Micah. Then mother and daughter sat together on the porch to have breakfast. Micah held her bread and ate small bites, while Huyen also slowly ate her portion. The simple breakfast made the small bamboo house feel warmer. As they were eating, Huyen suddenly coughed lightly a few times. Micah immediately put her bread down, hurried inside to get a glass, poured water, and brought it to her mother. "Drink some water, Mom." Huyen took the glass from her daughter's hand, drank a few sips, and then smiled softly. "It's okay, Mom, you keep eating." Micah still sat close to her mother, her worried eyes looking at Huyen. Then she felt reassured and continued eating her bread. Da is still diligently working in the grass field. He bends down to shake each bundle of grass until it loosens, then takes turns spreading them out on the ground to dry in the sun. The green strands of grass stretch out in rows, quickly soaking up the intense sunlight. After finishing the drying process, Da moves to sit beside the machine. He continuously feeds handfuls of grass into the machine, his hands working tirelessly. The weather is getting hotter, and the sunlight beating down on the field makes the air stifling. Sweat streams down his forehead, along his cheeks, and soaks his shirt. Da quickly wipes his sweat with his hand, then bends down again to continue working. Despite being tired, he still tries his best, only hoping to earn enough money at the end of the day to bring home for Huyen and Micah. Huyen went into the kitchen, carefully carrying the bowl of medicine that Da had prepared, and took it outside. She brought a bamboo chair to the porch and sat down, lifting the bowl of medicine with both hands. Huyen gently blew on the medicine to cool it down and then sipped it slowly. The bitter taste of the medicine spread in her mouth, making her grimace slightly, but Huyen still tried to continue drinking. She placed the bowl down, exhaled softly, and sat resting for a while under the eaves. Micah sat beside her watching her mother. Seeing that she had finished the medicine, she felt more at ease. Sweat was streaming down Da and Appo's cheeks, and his shirt was soaked after working under the hot sun for hours. He still tried to complete the final step, his hands exhausted but relentless. Finally the work was finished. Da stood up, quickly wiped the sweat from his forehead when the landowner approached and handed him the wages. "This is your pay for today." Da took the money, carefully counted it again, then folded it and put it into his shirt pocket. "Thank you, Ma and Appo's, Am." After saying that, Da politely bowed his head to greet the landowner, then walked toward the motorcycle. He started the engine and left the field, feeling relieved because today he had earned some extra money to take home for Huyen and Micah. De and Apos. S motorcycle rolled along the dike road, then followed the village road straight into the town. After a while, De stopped in front of a hardware store. He parked the bike and went inside, saying to the shop owner, end quote, "Please sell me a large tarp, a sturdy one if possible." End quote. The shop owner took out a tarp, measured it carefully, and then cut it to De and Apos' requested size. After cutting, De rolled up the tarp neatly. He took the rolled tarp to the counter, paid the shop owner from his pocket, and thanked him. He carried the rolled tarp to the bike, securely tied it behind the seat. Then De put on his hat, started the engine, and left the store. The bike continued along the familiar road toward his house. Arriving home, De parked the bike in the yard and then went inside. After a day working in the fields under the hot sun, he quickly took a shower, washed his clothes, and changed into a comfortable dry outfit. Once finished, De went outside, checked the house door, and carefully locked it. He carried a coil of iron wire on his shoulder that he had just bought, to secure the tarp while repairing the roof for Huyen. De looked at the coil of wire on his shoulder, then got on his motorbike. He started the engine, ready to continue his journey to the small bamboo house of the two mother and daughter. Huyen took the bag of medicinal leaves that De had picked from the mountain the day before for her. She placed it on a bamboo tray, poured the medicine on it, and used her hands to evenly spread each handful of leaves until they were very loose. Seeing her mother working, Micah ran over to help. The mother and daughter together carried the tray out to the front yard, placing it on a bamboo chair to dry in the sun. As Huyen stood up, she suddenly felt dizzy. The dizziness caused her to hold her head with both hands, standing still for a moment to keep her balance. Micah worriedly ran over. End quote, "Mommy." End quote. Huyen gently shook her head, trying to reassure her daughter. She slowly stepped inside the house, taking slow steps back to the bamboo bed. Huyen sat down, still holding her head with one hand, closing her eyes to rest. The dizziness still made her tired, but Micah sat close beside her, watching her mother with concern. The motorcycle stopped in front of Huyen and Apos' small bamboo house gate. De turned off the engine and got off, holding a large tarp in one hand and a coil of steel wire on his shoulder with the other. He carried the items inside the house, walking straight to the bamboo bed and gently placing the tarp on the bamboo table. Seeing De arrive, Micah happily ran over and hugged De. De bent down, smiling as he patted Micah and Apos' head. Micah was well behaved. De brought tools to repair the roof for the two of them. Micah hugged De for a moment longer, her small face showing clear joy. De approached the bamboo bed, saw Huyen still sitting and resting, gently reached out to touch her forehead and then took her hand. "Are you feeling better today?" Huyen nodded softly, smiling. "I am feeling better now, brother." De looked at Huyen, his eyes still a little worried. He pointed to the tarp and the coil of steel wire he had just brought in and said, "I brought some things to repair the roof for you and your mother. The part of the roof that was damaged last time needs to be covered quickly so that it doesn't and Apos' rain inside anymore." Huyen looked at the items De brought, feeling both surprised and touched. She gently squeezed his hand, unable to say anything except a grateful smile. De stepped out in front of the house, saw the bamboo tray placed on the chair, with the medicinal leaves that Huyen had previously dried. He bent down, reached out to check each bundle of leaves, and saw that the medicine was completely dry and lighter than before. De took a plastic bag, carefully gathered all the leaves on the tray, and placed them into the bag. He used his hand to scoop each portion of medicine, put it into the bag, and tightly sealed the opening. Then De took the medicine bag into the kitchen, placed it in a dry spot and stored it carefully. After finishing, he went outside, preparing to start repairing the roof for Huyen and Micah. De carried 2 bamboo chairs outside to the garden, placed them under the shade of a tree to stay cool, then went back inside. He gently helped Huyen and Micah outside, bringing the mother and daughter to sit on the bamboo chairs. "Sit here and rest in the shade. He fixed the roof for a while. Huyen nodded softly, while Micah sat close to her mother, watching to prepare for work. De went back inside to gather the clothes, blankets, and pillows that had been dried. He brought everything out to the garden and spread a clean mat under the shade of a tree, near where Huyen and Micah were sitting. De placed the blankets, pillows, and clothes aside to give the mother and daughter a place to rest while he fixed the roof. When finished, De dusted his hands, looked at Huyen and Micah, then went inside to get a tarp and a roll of steel wire, preparing to start repairing the roof. Huyen and Micah sat down on a mat spread under the shade of a tree. The mother and daughter folded their clothes and bedding, which had been dried and neatly placed aside. Occasionally, Huyen looked towards the small bamboo house. On the roof, De was trying to repair the damaged part caused by the recent storm. Micah also looked up, her small eyes watching every move of Uncle De. Huyen looked at him, feeling a sense of gratitude in her heart. Amidst many hardships in life, De and Appo's sincere help made their small house feel warmer. De stands under the roof, carefully inspecting the remaining old joints after the storm. He uses pliers to cut each piece of rusty, old wire, removing them to create space to slide the tarp underneath. Each joint is neatly cut, and De gently pulls the tarp, then threads it into the open part of the roof. He adjusts each corner to ensure the tarp covers the gap completely, preventing rainwater from seeping into the house. Huyen from outside the garden stood up, slowly walking towards the side of the house. She approached, gently pulling back a corner of the tarp to look up at the roof. On the roof, De was still diligently working. He bent down, using pliers to cut the old wires, then carefully threaded and adjusted the tarp into the correct position. Sweat dotted his forehead, but De remained focused, pulling and adjusting each corner of the tarp to make it fit perfectly. Huyen stood below watching him for a long time. She said nothing, only silently observing the person trying to repair the roof for her family. A look of gratitude and emotion appeared in Huyen and Appo's eyes. De carefully threads the tarp through the gap between the thatched roof and the house frame, gradually guiding the tarp into the correct position. He bends down, gripping the edge of the tarp with both hands, pulling it tight to cover the roof completely. The tarp is stretched flat along the roof, without any large folds. De continues to adjust each corner, pulls a bit more, then holds it firmly, preparing to secure it with steel wire. Below, Huyen stands watching, seeing De still diligently working under the sun, clearly feeling his dedication to their small house. Huyen and Micah sat resting on a mat spread out in the garden. Micah sat close to her mother, while Huyen quietly looked towards the small bamboo house. On the roof, De was still diligently repairing the damaged part. He carefully stretched the tarp, adjusted each corner, and secured it tightly. Seeing De and Appo's hard-working appearance, Huyen couldn't and Appo's help but smile. A warm and grateful feeling rose in her heart. She understood that, despite difficult times, there was always someone quietly caring and trying to protect her and her daughter. Micah looked up at her mother and asked softly, "What are you smiling at, Mom?" Huyen gently stroked her daughter and Appo's head, her eyes still fixed on De. "It and Appo's nothing, dear." Although she said that, a gentle smile still lingered on Huyen and Appo's face as she continued to watch De diligently repairing the roof for her and her daughter. De continued to stretch the remaining piece of tarpaulin outside the roof, carefully adjusting each corner to ensure the roof was fully covered and more secure. Seeing De working for a while, Huyen poured a glass of water and slowly brought it to him. "Drink some water." De took the glass from Huyen and Appo's hand and sipped it gradually. After finishing, he handed back the glass and smiled. "Thank you." Huyen gently smiled at De, while he continued to work, tightening the tarpaulin on the roof. De entered the house, checked the corner of the tarpaulin again. He adjusted each edge and pulled it tight, making sure the exposed part of the roof was fully covered. Huyen stood quietly beside him watching De work. Seeing the tarpaulin was securely fixed, she couldn't and Appo's T helped but smile happily. From now on there would be no more worries about the house leaking during rain. They turned to look at Huyen, softly smiling. He checked the corners of the tarpaulin one more time, hoping that the small bamboo house would be better protected, so that whenever the rains came, Huyen and her mother could rest peacefully underneath. Huyen carried a bamboo basket and slowly went out to the front garden. She chose a spot near the water spinach bed, then sat down gradually, reaching out to pick each tender green sprout and placing it into the basket. However, Huyen and Appo's body had not fully recovered from the days of illness. After sitting for a while, she began to feel a little uncomfortable and tired. Huyen gently changed her position, supporting herself with her hand, and sat to rest for a moment. She tried to pick more handfuls of water spinach. The soft sunlight shone down on the small garden, and the bamboo house behind had now been repaired by Da, with no longer any gaps that made Huyen and Micah worry every time it rained. Da just saw Huyen sitting outside in the garden picking water spinach and hurriedly went out. "You're not fully recovered, why are you out here picking vegetables?" Saying that, he bent down beside Huyen, gently touched her forehead with a worried expression. "Go inside and rest. I'll do it later." Huyen looked up at Da and softly smiled. "I'm better now, I can do it. Just go ahead and finish your work, it's going to get dark soon." Da looked at Huyen for a moment, still seeming unsure. But seeing that she was determined, he could only sigh softly and turned back to continue finishing the unfinished work on the roof. Meanwhile, Huyen sat beside the vegetable bed, slowly plucking each green water spinach and placing it into a bamboo basket. Occasionally, she glanced at Da working diligently, feeling warm inside from his care. Micah took Pippi to the front yard. The girl gently guided the dog to an open area with flat ground for Pippi to practice walking. Micah patiently helped Pippi take small steps. The weak hind legs made it difficult for Pippi to walk, but she did not give up. Every time Pippi took a little more step, Micah happily petted the dog. "Keep going, Pippi." Huyen sat beside the vegetable bed, watching her daughter and Pippi, with a gentle smile on her face. Nearby, Da was still trying to finish repairing the roof. The scene of the small garden became truly peaceful and warm. Huyen brought a basket of water spinach to the water jar in front of the house and sat down to wash the vegetables. She picked each stalk carefully, gently rinsing off the dirt. Seeing her mother working, Micah also ran over to help. The girl sat beside her, using her small hands to pick and wash each bunch of vegetables. On the other side, Da was still repairing the roof. He took a roll of steel wire, cut it into appropriate lengths with pliers, and carefully threaded it through the spots where old joints had been removed earlier in the morning. Da stretched the wire tight, twisted each joint firmly to reinforce the tarp onto the roof frame. He checked each corner again, pulled the wire to see if it was secure, then moved on to the next section. Beads of sweat dotted his forehead, but Da remained patient, making sure everything was solid so the tarp could withstand the upcoming rain. Huyen washed the rice thoroughly, then put it into the pot, added enough water, and placed the rice cooker on the stove. She bent down to light the fire, and the sticks of wood started crackling with gentle smoke rising. Da saw this and immediately came over, gently holding Huyen and Appo's hand. "You and Appo's, not fully recovered yet. Just go outside and rest, I and Appo's. I'll cook for you." Huyen was about to say something, but seeing Da and Appo's determined look, she nodded. Da took Huyen and Appo's hand and led her outside, guiding her to a bamboo chair placed in front of the porch. "Sit here and rest for a while." Huyen sat down on the chair, watching Da turn back to the stove to continue working. She smiled softly, feeling both guilty and warm inside because Da always cared about her health. "Be careful to secure the final sections of the steel wire. Test each connection to ensure the tarp has been fixed properly." After a thorough check, he looked up at the roof and sighed in relief. The small bamboo house has finally been covered, with no more gaps like before. He stepped down, took the bamboo broom and swept inside the house. He swept from the corner of the bamboo bed to the floor and the small table. After the storm, rainwater had leaked in, splattering mud everywhere and leaving dirty streaks on the floor. He patiently swept away every corner, gathered the dirt and sand and took it outside. After cleaning up, he dusted his hands, returned to the stove. He checked the rice pot cooking, added some firewood and sat down to watch the fire. The smoke gently rose under the newly repaired roof, and the small house gradually became cleaner and warmer. It was also getting dark. I took the oil lamp, lit it, and hung it up on the bed frame. The gentle yellow light spread out, illuminating the small house that I had just renovated. The rice in the pot was also cooked. I opened the lid, and the hot steam rose with a fragrant aroma. He took the washed water spinach, put it into the boiling water, cooked it just right, then took it out and placed it on a plate. Afterwards I took a few eggs, cracked them into a bowl and beat them well. He placed a pan on the stove, added a little oil and poured in the eggs to fry. The sizzling sound of eggs echoed in the small kitchen, and the delicious smell quickly filled the house. Huyen saw that Da had finished cooking, so she stood up and went into the kitchen to help him set the table. She took the bowls and chopsticks, arranging boiled water spinach and fried eggs on the tray. Da carried the tray of food to the bamboo bed, placing it in the middle of the three of them. He took turns serving rice into bowls for Huyen, Micah, and then himself. Under the warm yellow oil lamplight, the three sat together around the simple meal. Micah happily picked up eggs, Huyen ate her rice slowly, and Da ate while chatting with the two mothers. Huyen looked up at the roof, where the tarp had been securely fixed by Da. She smiled softly and then turned to say, "Thank you. Thanks to you, my mother, and I no longer have to worry whenever it rains." Da looked at Huyen and smiled gently. "It and Apos, nothing, dear." The two of them looked at each other and then both laughed. Afterwards, the three of them continued to eat under the warm oil lamp. The simple meal, filled with affection, made the small bamboo house cozier than ever. After finishing the meal, Huyen and Micah climbed onto the bamboo bed. Micah lay close to her mother, pulled up the blanket, and gradually fell asleep. Huyen also closed her eyes, gently resting after a long day. Da stood by the bed, watching the mother and daughter for a moment, then softly said, "Sleep well, both of you. I and Apos am going home now." Huyen nodded softly. Micah was already sound asleep. Da stepped out of the bamboo house, closed the door, and returned to his own home. Outside, the night had covered the entire village road. The oil lamp in the small house still flickered through the crack in the door. A long, exhausting day finally came to an end, leaving peace and warmth in the small bamboo house. If everyone loves Huyen and Micah and Apos' mother, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a word of encouragement for the two of them to see the next developments. Every follow and every loving comment from everyone will be a source of comfort and strength to help Huyen get through difficult times. Thank you all very much.